Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 1% Tribe. Tonight should be a good one. Kind of excited about talking about something that is super plentiful. It's essentially a weed, but it's called mullein. So mullein is been used for a long, long time and many, many different variations on it. And it'd be good to know it, because a lot of times when you know the stuff around you, what kind of got me into trying to understand the herb stuff on top of the chiropractic principles and everything else in my world that I got completely addicted to was these are things that are in almost every state that you can possibly imagine. So Michigan, mullein grows all over the place. Yeah, you're literally, it's a weed, right? So what we have to do is I'm glad I said that to you. I want to show you what mullein looks like. Images. Okay, so it wouldn't be anything if you don't know what the plant looks like, right? So let me do, and I'm sorry, this is towards Michigan. So we'll just make sure that you see it. Okay. Sorry. Let me see a good shot, then you'll understand. They have a lot of close-ups. We don't need close-ups. We need there it is. That's a good one. Okay, let's put this one on there. All right. Well, so fun trying to find a good image without, they make you even pay for a weed? Oh, come on. All right. Hang on. That's not the one I'm looking for. Dang. All right. Come on. Give me just a nice image. All right. That's pretty good. Okay. So let me share my screen real quick. So we'll share the screen. Let's do this one. So that's kind of what mullein looks like. It's like a little yellowy, flowery weed essentially in America or in Michigan. I would say this is a really big plant of mullein, but it grows everywhere. And so one of the things, I mean, it grows in the back of my office, like where there's not a lot going on back there, but it's something to remember. So it's this big yellow, stalky, nice situation there, but it looks ornamental for sure, right? And so as we go, who would have known, one of the biggest things for me was, what really got me into the herbalism. I just remember a patient. I should have him come on at some point. I'm going to ask him to do it. Come on as a bit, but he does some kind of adventure survivalist type stuff. And when he did this adventure hello, Julie. Oh, yes. There's my common mullein grows in my yard. Yes. Do you have to do anything, Julie? If you can answer in the chat, that'd be good. I mean, it basically just grows, right? So Julie is our our gardener that, oh, yes. And it does work. That's what we're going to talk about. Works great for congestion for sure. Brian rocked it out. He always studies beforehand. So my top fans, they know just as much as me, I swear. So, but the cool part is the reason I do these is so we can learn together even more information. Because a lot of times it works great for congestion, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more that it can do, which is fantastic. So the big thing is like understanding that this weed and herbal type stuff isn't about necessarily the medicine, but understanding the plants that surround us, right? And if we have an idea of weeds that can be, reproduced and making things, we should make our yards like that. Echinacea is a beautiful flower. That's one reason why I kind of push it, because Rachel and I grew some good herbs this year. We're lemongrass. I got to go get. It's about ready to harvest, right? But some of them are survivable, some of them aren't. We're learning that as we go through the thing, but they could add for a ton of different teas and ideas that you could do. And we'll go through it today. I want to bring this up. Mullein is really good, like Brian says, for congestion, right? What if your epigenetics that we talk about all the time, your entire family has problems with congestion? Why wouldn't you put a tea in your life that may or may not get you, may get you in a really good position to take on those epigenetics, to literally change and help the genes along, right? And so that is what tonight's about. You don't need any fancy testing or, those kind of things. These are all things. Oh, tonight my herbal tea is raspberry. Fantastic for the heart. And delicious. I don't know. That one, the hard part of raspberry tea is I'm a huge raspberry fan. And I know it's good for your heart, but I keep grabbing that instead of other ones too. So but the other ones taste just as good too. So remember, get loose leaf tea, raspberry leaf, a lot of good stuff. My ladies, really good for women's health. But Julie answered my question. Yes, it does. You don't have to do anything, and it drops tons of seeds. Yes, it's a ton. It is a weed. It is a weed that we most of the time mow over, right? But if you can find a way, and hopefully tonight we'll talk about how to, grab this thing, start harvesting yourself, dry it out, see what it does. There's a couple in here that are interesting ways to take it that we haven't talked about. I'll leave it at that. So, without further ado, let us talk about mullein. It's unlocking the power of nature's gentle healer, which is amazing. So lots of parents will like to have this in their back pocket. One of my past massage therapists, Jen, would tell me a couple of stories, and I'll give you a good one on this. Okay, so what are we going over tonight? What is mullein, and what can it do for you? Where does it fit in our 1% lifestyle, right? So what are we going to do, right? And then learning how to use it and understand its role of your body's innate intelligence, right? So remember, these are all what's neat about what I go over and all of these herbs. They're not trying to make you sick to well. Okay. They're not really trying to do sick to well. What we're trying to do is enhance to allow your innate intelligence to work better than it ever has. And by using herbs, potentially kind of experimenting and seeing which different areas you can go after, a lot of times you can, enhance or improve your innate intelligence ability, right? So what is congestion, right? We should go over that. What is congestion? It's your body's immune system reacting to environmental toxins potentially that are coming in your body. Why does it get out of control? Is it the environment? Were you in that same one yesterday? Right. So sometimes it can get out of hand and it can cause sinus congestion, those kind of things. Where herbs come in really, really well is over time, 1% improvement, understanding, hey, I have congestion in the fall. I have congestion when it gets dusty. I have congestion in the spring, all of these things. And then understanding, maybe Mullein tea is a good time to do that. And then it'll help that innate intelligence of your body, the immune system, the sinuses, and all the congestion, the snot, all that stuff to normalize and act like it's supposed to, right? Because we don't want to take out congestion. Congestion is a part of the innate function. We have to have it to trap the stuff so it doesn't get in and cause us other damage. We want to have something that makes it, hey, is this exactly what the body wants? Okay. So let's talk. So what is Mullein? What is Mullein? And Mullein is scientifically known as Verbascum thapsus, commonly called the great mullein or common mullein. Like Julie was just saying, common mullein is a good, or both of those. It is a biennial plant native to Europe, North Africa, and Asia. This is where the history gets a little interesting. Did you hear that? It's a native to Europe, North Africa, and Asia. Its history, though, dates back thousands of years, with ancient Romans using dried flowering spikes dipped in tallow or suet to create torches for illumination. The Greeks similarly employed it for lighting. In folklore, Mullein was believed to ward off evil spirits. Reputation noted from historical texts called Greaves a Modern Herbal. That is a pretty good book, actually. It has roots in traditional systems such as Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine for its health properties. I really like this, like the history of it, because if you know it, then it kind of sticks in your brain a little better. The plant was introduced to North America by European settlers in the mid-1700s, initially as a medicinal herb. This one is interesting, or a pesticide. That is a substance used to poison fish for easier catching. I thought that was kind of interesting. Native American tribes adopted it for treating respiratory conditions like coughs and bronchitis. By the 18th century, it had spread across the continents, sometimes accidentally became naturalized in regions like the US and Canada. Today, it's often considered as an invasive weed in some areas, but remains valued in herbal traditions for its historical use in respiratory support, which is what we'll talk about. Wound care, which is another big one, and even as lamp wicks or torches in the earlier eras. Isn't that cool? So not only if you have a cough, you could also have light. You can blaze your own path. We can create torches. That's awesome. All right. So here's the big thing. So the big thing is we're going to talk respiratory health, which is what it is for. But make sure you're hearing the other things, right? Because most herbs, because they're from nature, helps in a lot of different ways. And one of the big ones is that you have categories of herbals, right? alternatives is one, and a mullein is a big alternative, which, if you remember, if you don't, we're going to go over it anyway. So, mullein has been used traditionally in herbal medicine for a variety of purposes, primarily supported with anecdotal evidence in some preliminary scientific studies. Note that while it's commonly used is a complementary remedy, it's not a substitute for medical treatment. Oh yeah, I gotta say this stuff. Consult a healthcare professional before use, especially if you have any underlying conditions. But here is the breakdown. So mullein is used in respiratory health. It's often praised as an expectorant. So when you hear the word expectorant, that is the ability to get rid of the mucus. Okay, so it helps get rid of that mucus situation. That is the big kicker. Like Brian was saying, congestion. The reason it's so good is because it moves it along. It kind of helps the function in the process of that. It helps to thin and expel mucus from the lungs, making it useful for conditions like coughs, colds, bronchitis, asthma, and other pulmonary issues. It may ease breathing difficulties and soothe irritated airways. Okay, so that's a big one. All right, anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. This is the one that's not talked about a lot. The herb contains compounds that could reduce inflammation and fight bacteria, potentially aiding in infections, sore throat, and overall immune system support, which is fantastic. So that adds on. So now you have a respiratory thing that's going to reduce the inflammation in your lungs. Let's say you have a cough, cold, bronchitis. Let's use bronchitis, for example. So we take a mullein tea instead of a monster or the fake sugar that's going to throw so much inflammation at it. You know, the amount of people that do, go to your comfort food when you're having something like bronchitis, you're literally perpetuating the problem. But I digress. So it does reduce inflammation and fight bacteria. Okay. Potentially aiding in infections, sore throats, and overall immune support. So, Brian, if you're on still, ask, do you take the tincture? I'm just curious. Skin and wound care. So this one is big. Okay. So skin and wound care. One of my favorite stories of this is one of my massage therapists, Jen, when she was telling us this conversation, or she had, where her kid was out playing in the yard or out at a ballpark or something, and there was mullein out in the field, and they had fallen and cut themselves really bad. So they cut themselves pretty severely, and one of the things you can do is you can grab that mullein, use your own saliva, make what they call essentially a poultice out of it. And because it's got that anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial properties, you can actually put it on your kid's arm. And with all those properties in there, it can act as natural first aid. Okay. So imagine you going camping and stuff and you see it, and now you recognize it, you're like, oh, there's some mullein over there. That's great. Maybe you don't have to use it, but if you do, it's right there, right? It's pretty cool. So that one is good. So the skin and wound healing is pretty cool. It's applied topically, and it can help with burns, wounds, eczema, inflamed skin due to its soothing effect. So it has a nice, presence to it as well. And it actually has some digestive support. Okay. Almost all weeds in Michigan, what we consider weeds, have some kind of digestive support, which is fascinating because the dandelion root is one of the best gallbladder liver detoxes on the planet. And as a tea, it's phenomenal for that. Remember what that is? The choleretic and cholagogue kind of situation. So if you don't, go back. I probably should do one on dandelion. I don't know if I've done it, I'll keep that in our surprise, our next time we're together. Oh, speaking of that, we'll go through that because I forgot that. Oh, I got to go through my thing. Okay, so we'll stop right here, and just remember, 1% Tribe, 1% Tribe on Sunday night is you can remember my Rumble channel. You can watch all the latest and greatest. And it's I like it because it, be nice. Okay. So that's what happened. Okay. I got a little too quick there. So my Rumble channel is called The Prize Inside. Okay. So if you like Rumble, that's fantastic. If you don't, not a problem. Okay, there we go. And then we are also on YouTube. I'm kind of trying to grow any of these, honestly. Wherever you like to watch it. But the YouTube and the Rumble has a lot of the old videos, really good, easy to watch the recordings as well. So if you get into that, podcast is one of my favorites. Podcast, it's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, all those. We're over 4,000 downloads, which is crazy to me in the history of it. I really enjoy this, guys. I really, really do. It's fun. I have more fun. I don't know if you guys like it as much, but it helps me keep me going on the sense of just learning all the time. It's great. And then our last thing is if you want to join an email list, this is an email list I only use for going live, here. And hopefully I'll have some articles. Kind of working that out. I want to figure out how to share articles that we'll be talking about that week. And don't forget, we do this also on Wednesday night at 8:30 called Whole Health Weekly, where we go through different the trends of the week. So health trends that may be out there. And that's a really fun show as well. So here's some other uses of mullein, though. So now that we've heard that, so digestive support, we're there. So use it for mild digestive discomfort. And the evidence is limited that it works that way, but it makes sense. It makes sense because of the weeds and how much digestion and a lot of your yellow flowers, dandelion, kind of thing. It will have the potential of having that, that digestion. So always look at the nature as well. And then the other usage is, here's some other suggestions that it's been used for in the past. It has been actually suggested for ear infections as an oil. See, this is what I learned watching this. So that's interesting. Minor pain relief, or even as a mild diuretic. But research is sparse and mostly just traditional applications. Potential side effects include skin irritation and allergic reactions. Easy way to check that is just rub against it and see how your skin feels. It's generally considered very safe in moderation, but it lacks extensive clinical trials on it. So as far as some of these other uses, like ear infections, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So here is what I wanted to bring up, because our 1% tribe, it's great to know what it does. So now we know it's really good for congestion, respiratory stuff. It's a good anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, right? All of those different things. And so these are the words I want you to be familiar with. So I want you to be familiar with the word alterative. So an alterative is any herb that tonifies and strengthens. So this is a definition. An herb that gradually restores health by improving bodily functions, often by supporting detoxification or metabolism. Mullein is that for respiratory health. So it's very, very good what they call alterative. Alterative is a very nice category for you to understand because it works in the innate intelligence of the human body. Very, very good. We're not asking necessarily mullein to do things in this. We're trying to restore the health to the cells of the respiratory system to do the job that they want to do. Okay. An astringent. An astringent is another herbal way to say it. It's an herb that contracts tissue. It reduces secretions or inflammation. Often used for skin or mucous membrane issues, which is, why mullein for wound care is a big one. Okay, so it's trying to restrict the blood flow in that area to stop the bleeding. Okay. So that's one reason Mullein's really good in that situation, on top of the antimicrobial situation. Demulcent is an herb that soothes and moistens the irritated mucous membranes. Okay. It's used for respiratory and digestive relief, like Mullein for coughs. Okay. So a demulcent is something that soothes and moistens the tissues. And sometimes you need that, right? And there's a lot of little demulcent type situations. I probably will go into each category at some point. I just want you to know these are other things that just Mullein by itself can do. It's not one of my more powerful ones, I'll have to say. I mean, we've gone over those. So astragalus, ashwagandha, turmeric. But what it does well. Does that make sense? So hopefully, in the congestion world, this is probably one of your go-tos. Very nice on you, those kind of things. And like we said, anti-inflammatory, and it actually has some anti-spasmodic category, blah, 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 that. It can stop you from spasming. Man, we worked hard in the yard today, so and in the robot room. We're almost there, man. Gosh. Robotics is so crazy. You're so close yet so far all the time. Okay. So how do you take it? How do you do Mullein? We've been talking about it. Like, is there different ways? There's a lot of different ways for Mullein. So that's interesting. Mullein can be prepared and consumed in several forms, depending on intended use. Always source it from reputable suppliers. That's a true story, of course. And start with small amounts to check for reactions. Always a great idea with any herbs is you want to make sure, you try a little bit, see how your body feels, right? So we don't want to have any kind of weird reactions. A lot of dosing isn't standardized because it's a lot of from traditional medicine. So follow product labels and consult an herbalist or a doctor. Okay. The typical methods are a tea or infusion. So that's typically how Mullein's taken, is a tea or infusion. The most common way is to steep, which is to let Mullein leaves or the dried leaves and flowers sit. And it says 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried leaves or flowers in 1 cup of boiling water for over at least 15 minutes. Then strain it using a fine mesh to remove the fine hairs that can irritate the throat. Okay. So you want to make sure it's separate, but you want with steeping, all steeping is like letting it set in water to get the good stuff out. But if you don't steep for long enough, you're not going to get the medicinal properties out of it. Okay. That's one of the problems when I start sucking on my raspberry tea. I know later, at the end of the show, it's steeped enough in there. I should show you guys this. I want to figure out what is the company's called Trudeau. Trudeau, Trudeau. So Trudeau. I don't know. But this, let me see if I can bring it onto the screen. So this has, we're going to do this. I can put the loose leaf tea in there and it just kind of does its thing, right? And so it's pretty cool, like how it just kind of sits in there and it's a nice little container like that. So Trudeau, I don't know. We bought it in New Mexico when we were in our herbal retreat. And they're fantastic. So I got 2 of them just in case, and they really, really do work. Easy cleaning, those kind of things. So remember that one. So tea or infusion, 1 to 3 cups daily though. So we got to remember too, if you really want the actual result, you have to do what they call therapeutic dosage. Therapeutic dose is making sure that you have enough of it, that we have, that we get the benefits of the plant, right? So if we don't do enough, you're not getting what you need to. So you need to take a lot. Like if you got a respiratory thing, 1 to 3 cups of this sucker and doing it all is worth doing as a tea or a tincture, or I'm sorry, as a tea or an infusion. Okay, the next most common is a tea tincture or extract. This one you don't have to take as much, right? Because it's more intense. But you take it's liquid dropper, right? And then you put it on your tongue. I have several at the office. We kind of explain it because it's a different way to take a supplement. But it says liquid drops 1 to 2 milliliters mixed in water under the tongue 2 to 3 times per day. And then you'll start noticing a difference. The biggest thing I see is people not taking enough of whatever they're doing, right? They think just taking one because we're so ingrained in like one little tiny, tiny pill has an effect. Well, there's so much chemical stuff in that pill that it is going to beat your natural stuff in as far as how fast it works. With natural stuff, you have to give it that time. Capsules and supplementation. This is an interesting one, and it's still pretty common, but swallow orally with water, 3 to 500 milligram per capsule, 1 to 2 times per day. But just make sure in all of these, I'm not your doctor, right? Or I might be, but if I am not, consult a practitioner, a doctor, somebody before you start doing this. Make sure that you're not allergic. And one of the things is just let it touch your skin. Don't be starting out right away with a bunch of Mullein and then find out you have some kind of reaction. So always consult your professional. Okay, how do you take it in more different ways? This is going to be great. Hopefully Brian stays on. So topical or oil infusion leaves for eardrops. So oil so you use the leaves or the flowers and in oil for the eardrop situation, for ear infections. Or you can use it as the salve, the paste that I said, the skin. And so sometimes just having Mullein around as a topical agent is fantastic. You can make your own oils, which is really cool. I would suggest that it would be one of your dried herbs in your medicine cabinet, your new medicine cabinet, which is your herbals. So just get a can of it or a jar, right? Most of us aren't going to try to sell it. I just want to see it all pretty on your jar, right? So that's one thing that when I was training under Dr. Low Dog, which hopefully I think we're going to go again next year. I'm excited about that. When we do that, like to have all those things like right next to everything else, you look at it and you even tell yourself what it's for, right? So Mullein for respiratory, right? So then you think about it, or wound. So respiratory and wound on the label, right? A lot of times that will really, really help you. This is the new one that I thought was fantastic that I have not done yet. Smoking or inhalation. Now, I don't recommend this at all. I don't know anything about it, but I have to tell you how people have taken it in the past. So good luck. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do this unless you are a professional. Okay. So smoking or inhalation, dried leaves can be smoked or vaporized for quick respiratory relief. Though this isn't recommended for everyone due to potential lung irritation. Mullein's pretty caustic, so you're going to notice the taste. Okay, so you're going to notice it doesn't taste good. It's not like raspberries, right? So just remember that as we're going through this before you're like, oh, sweet. Mullein is a cig. That sounds fantastic. No, I would YouTube it or see somebody else do it before I would even think about that. Now, this one's kind of interesting as well because we haven't brought this one up as a syrup. Okay. You can make your own cough syrup with it. Now, I haven't done this. We're going to end probably a little early tonight. So we'll look up some, maybe there's a cool YouTube video on how to make the boiled roots into a syrup. That would be kind of cool. So the big thing is understanding that you can, especially where we live, you can harvest and dry your own if you want to just forage. So what you want to do is if you have a Mullein plant in your yard or in the the yard next year, in the weed field or something. Go get the leaves in the first year, the flowers in the second, but ensure proper, but avoid, you don't have to avoid the roadside plants due to pollution. Everybody eats asparagus around here off of that. So, but remember, don't do it during pregnancy, breastfeeding, or if you have allergies related to plants. Okay. So I put enough labels in there, but remember, you could do this. It's a weed. People will be like, what are you doing? And then if you go get those things, right? Or if you have it growing on your yard, it's an easy one. We don't even have to plant anything. like Julie was saying, it drops a ton of seeds and you're going to make more because it's like that kind of invasive weed that it's categorized as that. So remember that. But it's good for respiratory health. Fantastic. It should tell us a lot. If it could take us to that next level, I don't know. Like it's one of those, we don't harvest it. Maybe if it's so easy to do, maybe you start making a whole mullein field. I don't know. Some people are super allergic to mullein, though. That's one of the problems. So they have this allergic reaction to it, which is fascinating. Then it would work against them that hard. Okay, so what are we going to do for a 1% improvement tonight? We're going to get some tea. And then, of course, come in, check with me. I got a great place. We can get it full. There's a couple ways you can do it. If you want to come in the office, we can order it from my Amish herbal place. If you like email or getting it on a more consistent basis, this thing, I'll put the little, my little QR code in the corner there it's called Full Script. It's basically the Amazon of supplementation. You can get on there. Sometimes you can communicate with me on there. We haven't figured that part out yet, but I have a lot of patients that use it. But you can get your supplementation through there and it'll set you up for like monthly or, whatever you like to do. But I like using it a lot because Full Script is fantastic. And one of the major reasons I like Full Script is because, like it allows you that easy access. Like we're talking about mullein tonight. Tomorrow at Monday, if you're not congested, are you thinking about mullein? No, not really. And then all of a sudden you become congested. And then you're like, oh, what did we talk about on Sunday? I can't remember. Or hopefully my voice is, some people I listen to as podcasts, their voice is so good it puts you to sleep, right? I'm hoping I'm not that guy, but I could be. I could very well be. So with that said, that is all I have for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I think we went through a good thing, but I want to see, while I have you on, let's find out if let's go back real quick. Making here we go. We might have got lucky. All right. Let me look. Oh, okay. So, here we go. Ooh, this one looks good. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Exactly what we wanted. All right.
Picking the flowers. Whenever you're picking flowers from anything, even in your own garden, never pick all of them because otherwise you won't get any seeds to set for the following year. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to make a cough syrup. And the whole process will take around about 3 weeks. But at the end of it, we'll end up with a really beautiful golden brown syrup that you can store throughout the winter and used for coughs. It's very yummy. Any plants that you're picking, try and pick them high up, because you certainly don't want the dogweed in whatever you're making.
Yeah, she said something that's interesting. So some of these you got to be careful and make sure you're harvesting correctly.
We're not going to wash them at all because you don't want water in the syrup. Obviously the plants have got natural amount of liquid in them.
All right, well, I'll kind of skip ahead because I don't want to get YouTubed.
Box. And if you come in and have a look closely, you'll see that there's all little black beetles crawling out of them. And those beetles will actually fly away in a minute. They've got wings, so they fly off. As soon as you pick a plant, all the insects seem to know that that plant is going to...
Okay, you know how that works.
And I'm going to do 2 jam jars full, but you can only do 1 if you want. And they're washed, they're nice and clean. And what I'm going to do with them is put them upside down on the rack of the oven when I have just turned the oven on. So at the moment the oven is cold. Do the same thing with the lids, upside down in the oven, and then leave that in there. When the oven has reached temperature, so when the light goes off, or whatever system you have, everybody's got digital ovens, I know nowadays, whatever system you have on your oven, when the oven has reached temperature, just leave the jam jars in there for 1 minute and then turn the oven off and leave them in the oven to get cold. Oven's nice and cold now, and I'm going to take out my clean jars.
Oh, okay, so she's just... So in that, she was just basically sterilizing her jars. So there's lots of ways to do that, but that's good. This is us just finding this video, so I apologize. I haven't watched it with you.
Down a little bit already, so I think I'll only get 1 jar's worth out of it. Well, this is the nice, easy, fun bit. Handful of flowers. I've left them a bit longer than an hour because I've been pushed for time today, so they're not as bulky as they were. So I'm hoping that's about 1 inch there of flowers, and then ordinary granulated sugar there, and into that you pour about an equal amount of sugar. That's going to pack down in between the flowers. Another handful of flowers. So I've got a layer of flowers, layer of sugar, layer of flowers, layer of sugar. Put the lid on, which is also nice and clean, just come out the oven, clean and cold. And then you leave the whole lot in some sunshine to stand. As the flowers and the sugar pack down, we're going to top the jar up with more flowers and more sugar. And I'm going to leave it to stand over here, because that gets the afternoon sun from about 2 o'clock till about 8 o'clock at night. So that could be a nice little bit of sunshine for it to pack down in. And we'll come back and pack that up. This is our jar that's been on the window ledge for about a week now, and you can see that the flowers have compacted down and the sugar is melting. It hasn't all melted, it hasn't melted at the bottom there, but that's fine, don't worry about that. So what I'm going to do is top this jar up now. We went for a rather windy walk this morning, and on our way I collected a few more mullein flowers. For about an hour they've been lying around. I've used this tray, that's quite a handy thing to use if you haven't got any clean boxes. So I've just used this tray because I haven't collected that many flowers this morning. And what I'm going to do is pack them into this jar. Topped up with sugar Lid on, back on the window ledge again now. And I probably won't get any more flowers in that jar, so I'm going to just leave that now for about 3 weeks. It's now exactly 3 weeks since we started the syrup. Pick the flowers and...
Okay, did you see how she did that? She used that. I guess the sugar will dissolve in the time frame you're doing that. So it's like a week, 2 weeks, something like that. So that's pretty cool.
Put them in sugar. That is a plain brown glass bottle with a label on it that says Mullein syrup, July 2011, and then I've put the date on it. That helps because then you'll know when you make the syrup and how long you've had it. Ordinary sieve, kitchen sieve, ordinary jug. All of this equipment is clean, so make sure everything is very clean. Hands are clean. Spoon from the drawer. This is the syrup here. We haven't had that much sun over the summer, so I suspect it isn't going to be as nice as normal, but you can see it's gone quite a pretty brown colour. And all I'm going to do is tip it into this jug here, through the sieve. It'll probably be messy. The sugar at the bottom has not melted that.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? So we'll just keep going. Yeah, we're good.
That has crystallized. But this looks really gorgeous. There you go, you can see it dripping through the sieve there. You want every little bit because you won't get much syrup out of a jam jar full of...
They actually she's doing it. You can do this in other ways as well. There's there's some nice cloths. I can't remember the name of the cloth. You could actually do that in a jar like that. And then that way you can squeeze all the stuff out. It's a little messier, but you can get more product.
Flowers and sugar. So you want every little bit of syrup that's going to come out. So I'm going to leave that now and go away and do something else and come back probably in about an hour and have a look at it. Here we are, all drained now. Got about 200 mils of syrup in there. The bottles you can usually get from any chemist. I think if you go in there and smile sweetly, they'll sell you one. The reason it's got to be a brown bottle is that brown keeps the light off anything that's in the...
Yeah, you want to, if you ever do something like this, you want to use brown just to keep the light from degrading it further. It's obvious if she took a week and it was just granulated sugar and it worked in that decent amount of heat, then you're going to know, you could potentially have not great syrup if you use something else.
In the bottle. But anyway, it's probably a good idea to store these things in the fridge once you've made them, so they'll be dark and they'll be cool. Alright, let's do it so that you can see what I'm doing. Jug, bottle. All I'm doing is pouring it in. You can see look, I'll hold it up a bit so you can see the gorgeous colour of it. Golden brown colour. I'm going to try and extract every drop from that because I don't want to waste it. There you go, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. This lid has got a polycone insert in it, but any lid that the chemist sells you is fine. It's just the polycone seals the bottle much better. So make sure you put that on nice and tight so it doesn't leak if it gets transported. Hold that up. You can see I've nearly filled the bottle there, so I've got about 200 mils of mixture. So that just for private use for me and Mike, that'll last us through the winter if we ever need cough mixture. And
that's awesome. That's awesome. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that because a lot of times those things, yes. Oh, Julie, We got to try this. Like, it's super easy to make this syrup. So she had a great thing. I have not tried a syrup yet. I do have this one. I hate bringing it up because it's so good. I'll make sure it's on there. I haven't had time to play with it as much as I'd like to, but it actually is an oil infuser, and they use it for other things. They got really popular when marijuana became a thing, right? Where it was like all the time, because you can make your own whatever gummies to things. But that little syrup that she just did is a great tool to start getting used to, because you could do that with several. But you just made cough syrup for the whole winter or the whole fall. That's pretty cool. So, and it's Mullein. So what's going to happen is, in my area of Battle Creek, we're probably going to not have any Mullein anymore, because everybody's going to be grabbing the Mullein, which would be fantastic. But you can see too, is just making sure Mullein leaves, Mullein flowers, difference, right? There's a difference there. She was using the flowers. That's the time to do that. So go take a look and see what we got, baby, and try that. It didn't look tough. That's what's kind of neat. When I took my first course, when we were just taking the chance and going to Dr. Low Dog's place, it was herbal medicine making, and her ability to make them and show you how to make them was fantastic. But it's just cooking in your kitchen. If you like cooking in the kitchen, you just change it up a little bit. You just change up what you're doing, and the stuff you're making can last you a winter, or those kind of things. Rachel and I are so addicted to fermented foods, making little medicines like that, growing a garden and actually storing it. She did something crazy. I'll tell you, Dr. Rachel picked all these green tomatoes. Like, we had tons of green tomatoes, and maybe the crappiest garden of all time. If you get on her Facebook, you will see her picture of her. We had 6-foot weeds in there. It was fantastic. One reason this happened was like, hey, this year we're going to just do a little bit, and then we're going to start doing the native plants. So we started planting around our yard some different native ones to see, trying to experiment with these and see what happens. And so once we got into the native plant thing, the garden was like, all right, well, we planted it, and we thought, and one of the things that happened was the water content of our summer was really good. So, out of sight, out of mind. And we had canned so much the year before that we're like, well, whatever happens, we'll just eat whatever. Right. And so our tomato plants did explode right before all the cold started happening. But they were all green. So she brought them in big crates. We had this huge crate, and they became red. And then we were able to freeze them. Sometimes you can just freeze them right as wash them off and freeze them and put them in the freezer, right? You don't have to do a ton of canning and all those kind of things. There's different ways to store and reserve. We just have to remember that it's not just about canning. Understanding that whole process is really important. So that gives me another idea. We should do a whole preserve situation. Preserve, or we've done fermentation, so we might as well do something else. So with that said, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Sunday night. I love it. And putting up with our shorter show, but it was worth it to get Mullein cough syrup that probably tastes absolutely delicious. And if you start some kids on it, maybe, just maybe they'll actually do it. So with that, you guys rock it out. Remember, always consult your doctor, chiropractor, herbalist, before you do any of it. But what an adventure we're going to have. So the big thing is, enjoy your week. It's starting to become fall. We're enjoying. We spent a lot of time outside. We have a great garden plan this next year. Cannot wait to try it. Just changing it up a little bit. This is the time for planning and preparing for next year. And so start getting into it. Dive into those garden books, guys. Seed books. It's time. This is it. And then, you can spend the winter kind of planning it out. And the more planned you are, the better off your situation will be. So with that said, you guys have a great night.